And if you want to call in and make some comments or ask some questions, the phone number is 312-738-1060. And that's the call in to CAN TV. We'll be here for another 10 minutes or so. What's another term, Nicole?
Another term that I had was
do the truth display.
Oh, the truth display. Okay, so the truth display is what they call. It's what they call it. They call it a truth display. Is when you go by the clinics and stuff, and you see them holding up the signs of supposedly unborn children, which are fetuses, just bloody and things like that. They call that a truth display. And the definition of the truth is something that is fact. Something that is fact. That what they do is not at all fact, and I don't understand why they call it a truth display, because it's a lie display. But
the other thing, those pictures are not, it's a lot of propaganda, so they're not of actual abortions. Right. It may be some other type of medical procedure or something, and they blow it up, and then they try to appeal to people's emotions that way. So that's not truth. They don't have any way to verify where those things came from. They don't have any information or anything to say, here's my proof and this is where I got it from.
So what I wanted to ask you, Gayline, is that do you think that the terms that are used have a big effect on the way that people perceive the movements?
Right, I do. So when you think about some of these terms, particularly like when I think about something like the partial birth abortion, it was a term that was introduced years ago, and they kept saying it, and then the mainstream media started to put it into, articles and stories, and kept repeating it. And you know that old saying that you keep saying something over and over, it becomes true. Right. But it's not a medical legal term either. Right. So I do think that it does affect people and people's emotion, because people keep thinking partial birth abortion, the baby is being born and it's being aborted. I mean, that's what you automatically think, and that's not even the case. And so it does appeal to people's emotions, and it does have, effect on people. You see, we've been out at protests, and you see, the little old people standing out there, and they're really up in arms about that. And, because this, and even though you don't agree with abortion, you can not agree with it, but you don't have to feel like you need to, target people, shame women, kill doctors. You don't have to do all those things just because you don't agree with something.
Exactly. And I feel like that is just a horrendous, notion that these people have. Like, okay, we're supposed to be pro-life, but we're gonna go into church and we're gonna kill somebody, or we're gonna burn down a clinic with people that are living and breathing and have, family and things like that. How can you say that you're pro-life, but you're constantly committing acts of bringing actual people to death? So that's just it's really,
it's an oxymoron.
Mind-boggling.
It's an oxymoron. It's crazy. Right. Wait a minute. I wanted to talk about this word, infant. They always use that a lot. Infant, infant. Infant is a noun. But it's a child during the earliest period of its life, especially before he or she can walk. Mm-hmm. That's what an infant is. And so you'll hear them say infanticide, or you're killing an infant.
Right.
And that's not true.
No. And then the word doesn't even sound right together. I was like, infant, how do you say this? What is this?
What about what we heard yesterday when they said that one of the anti-choice people was saying something about contraception being if a woman takes contraceptives, the baby is choking. You're killing
They're
the baby.
starving.
This the baby by taking contraceptives. That is the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard.
And so I'm gonna give the definition for contraception. And contraception is the deliberate prevention of conception or impregnation by any drugs, techniques, or devices. So contraception is to prevent conception. So how can you be starving something that's not conceived? How can you be starving something that's not conceived? It's like,
yeah, that's a doozy there. When they said that yesterday, I was like, what? Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Any other words or any other questions?
I also wanted to give the definition for pro, because we're pro-choice, and they're anti-choice, but they call themselves pro-life. And pro means in favor of a proposition or opinion. And so, to me, when I look at that definition, I feel like pro fits perfectly with our movement pro-choice. We basically saying that the woman is entitled to her own opinion on what she feels like she can do. And the anti-choice people, they call themselves pro-life, but they are totally against a woman having the opinion to decide to have an abortion, or even looking at abortion as an option.
Right.
So, how can you be pro for something when you're not open to people's opinions and thoughts of what they feel is right for them?
Yay, Nicole! Yes, snaps up. That is so true.
So, I think that pro is the wrong term to be used with that.
So, it just makes sense to say anti-choice.
Right.
Because the opposite of pro-choice is anti-choice. They're against choice.
Exactly.
So, what other questions do you have?
Okay, so I had a couple of more questions, and I wanted to ask you, why do you think the anti-choice side considers themselves as pro-life?
Girl, I don't know. They're crazy.
I know, I kind of just like...
I think we have a caller. Go ahead, caller.
Hi, I just turned to the station. I'm rather interested to know more about the Chicago Abortion Fund.
Okay, well, thank you, caller, for that. We'll switch right over to the overhead so that you can see the information. Down below is a website, www.chicagooabortionfund.com, and our phone number 312-663-0338.
Okay.
What we do is we provide financial assistance for poor women seeking abortion procedures in their second trimester, which starts at 13 weeks. So we help poor women pay for those procedures. And then our advocacy component, which Nicole is a part of, is we go out and we do peer-to-peer education. We teach our communities about birth control, just
STDs, domestic violence,
right?
Anything concerning reproductive health and reproductive justice.
Exactly. So that's what we do. Feel free to look us up. You can Google us. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're everywhere.
MySpace, all that.
We're everywhere. But anyway, Nicole. Okay, so I didn't mean to laugh. Give me the question again.
I said, why do you think that the anti-choice considers themselves, instead of anti-choice, pro-life?
Because life is a very emotional word. I mean, everything that they do is based on emotions. In a lot of ways, they're emotionally unintelligent. They're not intelligent, because if you remove the emotion from that and you operate from a logic place. You know, I can believe not. I may not have an abortion if I got pregnant, but that's not the point. Logically, I can see that I do not control another woman's womb,
Exactly.
and therefore I'm going to remove myself from that, no matter how I feel about it emotionally. I can't remove themselves emotionally from situations, and so they'll throw out arguments that are not valid, that make no sense, that are way over the top, like the baby's choking on the contraceptive, the birth control pill, or whatever.
Right.
It absolutely makes no sense. But for people out there that operate like that from the emotion, they'll buy into that. That's why they use the term baby. You automatically you have this vision of a cute little baby. And so that's what they do that for, is because people are drawn to the emotional aspect.
Okay, so I'm going to give the definition for life. And so the definition that I found for life: the condition that distinguishes organisms from inorganics and dead organisms, being manifested by growth through metabolism, reproduction, and the power of adaptation to environment through changes originating internally.
That's a long definition. I think we have a caller. Go ahead, caller. Hi.
Yes, I have a comment. My comment is a lot of people don't understand after effect of having an abortion, the emotional toll that it takes on a woman.
We totally agree with you. For some people, it does have an emotional toll. What does that have to do with anything? That has nothing to do with nothing. We're talking about the language of the anti-choice movement. And, we've already said specifically that a lot of things are done to stir up people's emotions. I've had an abortion. I'm not traumatized by it. A lot had an abortion. They're not traumatized by it. Some women will have issues with it. Abortion is not an easy decision, and we're not trying to make light of that. It is a very difficult decision for women on a daily basis. But the point that we make is that it is a choice that each individual woman should be able to make at any time in her life for whatever reason. And so we have to understand that, and we have to respect that. Regardless of whether you agree with it or not, is a moot point.
And just to add to that, a lot of people get pro-choice confused with pro-abortion. We are not pro-abortion. We are pro-choice. Choice means having the option to do whatever it is that you feel like doing. And I've had an abortion too, and I'm not traumatized. To me, it was actually one of the best decisions that I made for me as a person, and that's what we hope for every woman, that whether she chooses to terminate her pregnancy or come to terms with her pregnancy, that it is the best decision for her and her alone. Not because her mama said it's wrong, not because the church told her that it was against the Bible, just because it was the best thing for her to do at that point in time in her actual viable life.
And the ending with that point. And so next month we're going to talk about the language in the pro-choice movement. Thank you for tuning in, and we're going to show our overhead one more time. So if you need some assistance, you have some additional questions, you can go ahead and contact us. There's 312-663-0338 at www.chicagooabortionfund.com. Thank you, and have a good night.
Good night.